ILTV Steve Leibowitz joins us now, along with David Mark, the managing editor of the Washington Examiner magazine and a Beltway insider. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
David, we heard Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik stand up in the Knesset, Israel's parliament, yesterday and sharply criticize President Biden's policies on the Gaza war. Now, President Biden has supported the Israeli war effort since day one. Why this partisan divide all of a sudden?
Well, Congresswoman Stefanik was taking aim specifically at what seemed like a temporary decision by the Biden administration to withhold some ammunition, specifically the 2,000-pound bomb. Now, that only lasted for a short time, and I think they've still gone on sale to the Israeli government, to the Israeli military, but it really is a way for Congresswoman Stefanik to raise her own profile. It's pretty unusual to actually go to a foreign parliament, a foreign government, and criticize the president. There used to be a saying in American politics and government that politics stops at the water's edge, meaning we can have our fights over domestic policy, but when it comes to foreign affairs, we want to have a unified presentation to the government. That is long gone, but she is also somebody who fancies herself a potential presidential candidate in the future. She's angling to be Donald Trump's running mate, vice presidential pick, so she certainly got her name out there.
David, Jake Sullivan, the National Security Advisor, is in Israel, was just left. It's a crucial juncture. He came with basically a proposal on the table for normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia if we go along with an eventual Palestinian state. How long is that offer going to be out there?
It'd be interesting to see what actually gets presented publicly. Supposedly, they're going over the final details and figuring what's actually in there. I can't imagine that the shelf life of it would be particularly long, particularly if Israel is not that enthusiastic about it, which you can understand why they might not be at this point. It's kind of like a three-way trade in baseball where you have three different moving parts and each one has to agree to it. Israel, at this point, I don't have to tell anybody in this audience, is probably not really enthusiastic about the idea of a Palestinian state. At this point, it's like, let's get this war finished, take care of Hamas and Gaza, and then we can figure out what's going on. Even if a day after plan is needed, that is a grand geopolitical compromise and to bring Saudi Arabia in, because it also involves a defense pact between the United States and Saudi Arabia as a buttress against Iran. That is a huge shift in American foreign policy. It's not clear that would have a whole lot of support in the U.S. Congress, which would still have to ratify it.
Now, what are the differences between policy between Republicans and Democratic leaders when it comes to U.S. support for Israel?
Both sides are, broadly speaking, supportive of Israel, to be fair about it. Generally, Republicans are more vocal, almost uniformly supportive of Israel. There are a few outliers there. On the Democratic side, I'd say about 2/3 of Democrats in Congress, the House and Senate, are vocally supportive of Israel. But there is another, I won't even call it a fringe because it's more than that, some of the harshest critics of Israel, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a congresswoman from New York, or the most virulent one, Rashida Tlaib, who represents a big Arab American community in Detroit. She's a Palestinian descent, Palestinian American congresswoman. She is probably the harshest critic of Israel.
Thank you very much, David, for coming in and for this input.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.